Hello, uh, doing another post commentary video with a little bit of my mini blog, on the side here. And if I get this video out in the next hour and 30 minutes, I'll finally have made a video within a 24-hour period. So I will get to editing on this as soon as this voiceover recording is done. And in today's gameplay, I did a normal stratagem, and for the first time in a long time, I'm playing as the sniper class. And that's just because I want to, kind of rotate out what classes I'm playing for these videos. And I know I haven't used a sniper in any of them so far. And another thing is with me doing the weekly stratagem and the daily normal mode stratagems, I've kind of got enough points where they were kind of just sitting there, and I'm running out of weapons to buy, and so I landed on the sniper rifle, and I want to try my hand at the potential for infinite ammo and high damage with the 10 shot multiplier, or 10 times multiplier for headshots. And you'll see that there's a reason I don't play scout or hunter or ranger or anything like that in a lot of RPGs, because I'm just not the sniper. I'm just not the lock in the headshot from the long distance guy. Battlefield, Destiny 2, I don't snipe. You'll find me at the top of the bell curve, average Joe. So if on one side of the far end you'll have people who are like god tier snipers, and on the other you'll have people who are just amazing shotgun rushers, I'm right there in the middle with the most basic loadouts, the auto rifle, the pulse rifle, the standard bolter, stuff like that. And so yeah, you're not going to see me make much use of the sniper. I will get some headshots off here and there, and I just don't think this is the game for like the zoomed in sniper playstyle or mechanic. It makes sense in universe. Apparently these Space Marines can knock out headshots from over 2 miles away, with their enhanced weapons, and the way the bolt is designed, with like propellants that take them longer distance, and micro mini adjusters and stuff like that, that keep the bolt flying true and straight over extremely long distances. And as well as the way their armor, the helmet heads up displays link up to the weapons. I could be mistaken here, but I remember reading that Space Marines, the reason you don't see a lot of their weapons have scopes on them, and the reason you kind of notice that they're shooting from the hips most of the time is because not only have they trained to be accurate with that hip fire, but if you just look at the design of the Space Marine with their giant shoulders, pauldrons, it doesn't really make sense that they're gonna bring a weapon up to the cheek and aim down sights and shoot their weapon that way. So from what I understand is that their armor is linked up, and we all know they have like the black carapace and stuff like that syncs up their armor to their body, so they can actually feel what their armor feels, as if it's like a third skin type of deal. But if I remember correctly, what'll happen here is those scopes on the weapons, the camera, the image that is being produced through the scope is actually relayed to their helmet, and that's what's actually happening when they're aiming down sights. Now, I could be mistaken, or maybe just for the game, the animations have been put in for them to aim down sights. But with that aside, it's there's one big fancy way to explain, even with that in-universe explanation, I just don't think that this is the game mode for, or the game type for aiming down sights. For instance, like, look how this Lictor is, very aggressive, very fast moving enemy, and there's just really no room to line up a headshot on him. And same thing for these Chaos Space Marines. Now, you probably saw me get a couple of headshots at the opening of the engagements when they're all standing still, but after that, the way the enemy AI is designed, especially with like the Termagants and the Tzeentch Warriors and the Tzeentch Horrors and the Zangor Warriors, nothing stays still long enough for your line of headshots. And it's also not, I don't think, the game for like like quick reaction flick shooting, like 360 no scopes. Now that's me, so like here's a moment where that you can line up a headshot, but once you get your teammate over there in their face, there's too much movement. Look at he's being hit, so he's flinching left and right. Try to retarget another one, teammates on him, and these guys, they're not worth the shots. So yeah, I'm not making the most use out of the sniper. Now that is probably 100% a me problem. There's players who they pick up a game, they immediately go for that class, that style of gameplay, and that's just who they are and what they excel at, and so it's got to be in the game. But for me, like I said, I just don't think this is the style of game for it. Especially like, I think another good example of that was an older game called The Division, where you could aim down sights. You could look through the scope to line up headshots. But what they also did was, there was like a, if you were standing still long enough, or if you took a knee and you went to the ADS, like, because it was an over the shoulder game similar to this, what it would do was it would just close down the reticle to let you know like your shot has been lined up. And I think that probably would have been more beneficial in this style of game. And yeah, so like I said, it's more likely a skill issue. But that aside, I did enjoy the weapon. I see its potential. I see what they were trying to cook up here. Maybe they were thinking, like, for bosses and stuff like that, a really good player could like save the day by just landing headshot after headshot and chunking the enemy down, and without having to worry about ammo stopping them. But you have to have the skill to get that payoff. And so yeah, you're gonna see my gameplay is mostly just the heroic bolt pistol here with the 3-round burst. And I won't lie, I was a little kind of like tilted because I wasn't making the best use of that sniper, and it felt like I only had one weapon in the game, and I just wasn't performing the way I wanted to. And getting into my little bloggy section of the gameplay here, of my videos here, my wife, she's my #1 supporter, and she watches my videos, and she was the one who told me that the audio is pretty choppy, and that she can't hear me, so maybe I should get a new mic. So I got a new mic. And another thing she said was that she noticed I mentioned the Tacticus armor, or not the Tacticus, the Blade Guard veteran shoulder pauldrons a few times, and that I was happy that they matched, and how I found those in the upgrade sprue. And I showed her, oh yeah, like there's a bunch of different shoulder pauldrons, and I was kind of like losing my mind because I bought this $170 combat patrol box, and all of the intercessors, and the Hellblasters, they had a left shoulder pauldron with the raised Dark Angel sign, and I couldn't find that a similar left shoulder pauldron for these Blade Guard veterans that came in the Combat Patrol box. And I thought, man, what a jip, It's you can buy the Blade Guard veterans separately, and they don't have that shoulder pauldron, and that makes sense because maybe you're painting them up as a Salamander, or you're painting them up as Black Templars or whatever, and that makes sense. But these Blade Guard veterans came in the Combat Patrol box, specifically the Dark Angel Combat Patrol box, and they didn't have those upgrade sprues for their left pauldrons. I could be blind, maybe I just didn't see them. I looked over, so correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't find them, and so I took a gander at the upgrade sprues that I bought a couple weeks ago, and lo and behold, there they are. There's 3 of them, exactly 3 of them, and trust me, it made me a happy camper. But yeah, so if you're kind of wondering like what's the difference, I found these inside the Combat Patrol box, and it has that raised extra shield, I guess like a extra guard material for the neck, or to catch the blade, in a sword fight. But it didn't have this little lip right here, and that's what the standard Combat Patrol Blade Guard veteran shoulder was with the sprues that I seen. And in the upgrade sprue box, the little $47 or $37 upgrade sprue box, you'll see that you do get a Dark Angel pauldron, style pauldron with the raised symbol, and it has that little lip right there that matches the right shoulder pauldron of a Blade Guard veteran. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. And just for reference, here's a Gravis armor pauldron right here, and I guess this would go on to my captain, because I do have a Gravis armor captain that I have to make, but I believe the kit already has his pauldron sitting somewhere in there. I think I saw it. And all the Hellblasters and the Intercessors, they have the regular Tacticus pauldron, and I don't have any scouts, and I don't see myself getting any in the foreseeable future. But this is what a Phobos styled Dark Angel's shoulder would be. And I do plan on getting Deathwing Terminators, and if they don't come with upgrade sprues, there are upgrades in the upgrade sprue box, such as like a Dark Angels themed Terminator heavy plasma cannon type deal, as well as their shoulder pauldrons as well. So like I said, you may have heard me, I really didn't think the upgrade sprues were worth the box price, what you were getting. If the grand total Tacticus armor shoulder pauldrons was 7, I believe, or 8, maybe it was 7 regular ones and 1 Tacticus with like a ribbon on it for like a name or something. And when you buy a Intercessor box, it's a 10-man squad. If you buy a Hellblaster box, it's a 10-man squad. And as far as I know, if you buy a Scout box, with a bunch of Phobos armor, it's 10 of those guys, but you're only getting 5 Phobos pauldrons. Now, if that's worth the bang for your buck, I don't know, but that's almost I think it was like $47, so that's almost $50 of plastic, and you're not even getting a full set of pauldrons for your $65 box of 10 Intercessors or 10 Hellblasters. Or in my case, if I had bought the Blade Guard veterans separately, which are another $65 for 3, I would still need to be in the hole another almost $50 for the upgrade sprues for 3 extra shoulders. If you're one of those guys who just have to have the matching set for your army. So, food for thought for anybody who's out there. You know, I've said it before, I'm pretty serious about this endeavor of mine. I'm going to play the tabletop. I love the Dark Angels. They're my favorite lore. They're my favorite, army when it comes to all the different the legions. Out of the 18 of them and the 9 loyalist ones. Oh, right in the back. Look at me go down. So yeah, I didn't commentate too much on the gameplay for this game. So I hope some people who are maybe interested in getting into the hobby, maybe they learn something about these small little details with their minis. When you're building them, build them your way. I don't know if there's going to be that guy in the store who kind of does it like, actually, that's a Phobos armor, you can't put it on that guy. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know how serious people are taking it. But if you are ever in the market and you buy like the scout box is what appeals to you, and you want to get the matching shoulders for your army, like for instance like these Dark Angel shoulders, just be aware that the upgrade sprue is only going to come with 5 of them, or 6 of them. It won't be enough for the full 10. And if you do get the combat patrol box, by my count, there's only 12 of the shoulders for your 15 Tacticus Marines, the Hellblasters and the Intercessors. And so I feel like no matter what, you're kind of funneled into buying the upgrade sprues if you want to kind of put that onto your guys. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the information. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay, and I'll catch you in the next one.